In this video, I'm creating some gorgeous farmhouse home decor that I know you're going to love. So make sure you hit that subscribe button if you like what you see, and stay tuned because I have tons of more DIYs coming our way. Jumping on into the first DIY, I found these little wooden arrows at Dollar Tree, and if you turn them sideways so that they are pointing straight up, they make the perfect house shape. So I was super excited to find these. These were in the Crafter Square at Dollar Tree. I went ahead and cut off the little twine hangers, and then I'm going to be placing them on this tray so that they would really pop off of the background and you could see what I was going to do. So I'm going to be making two different versions of these, but the possibilities would be endless on how that you could personalize these. So the first thing I'm doing is use some of my well-loved Waverly chalk paint in the white color. I'm still getting a ton of questions why I like using chalk paint, and it is because I get a ton of coverage, which means I have to apply less coats of paint, and it dries really fast in that gorgeous matte finish, which is perfect on all of our farmhouse decor pieces. And then I love to distress with a piece of sandpaper, so that also works really great on the chalk paint. So you'll have to let me know in the comments down below, do you use chalk paint on everything, or are you still using your acrylic paint? I love both. I've just fell in love with chalk paint, so that's just what I've been using for the past couple of years. So the next thing I'm going to be doing after I got full coverage on those little houses is taking some mineral colored chalk paint and going to distress them a little bit. And then to make the roof, I originally thought that I would use some of the wooden block tower games from Dollar Tree, but then I found these little cubes at the last minute in the Crafter Square, and I thought gluing these all together made more of like a shingle look and thought it looked really cute. So I'm taking this photo frame to kind of line them up to make sure that I get a perfect straight edge, and I'm going to glue those together. I went ahead and just got excited and glued the little roof down on the house, but then I figured out really quickly that I should have painted it first. That way I wouldn't get all of my brown paint all over the white little house shape. So I just easily removed that and tried to peel off as much paint as possible, and then using some acrylic paint in this, I think it's a nutmeg color, I'm going to go ahead and just give this a couple coats of paint, and I love this rich brown color on top, and it just really makes the roof pop off. To make a cute little small wreath ring at the top of this little house, I'm using some of this Hobby Lobby little garland. I'm pretty sure I found this in the wedding section, and I completely forgot that I have used this before. I definitely want to pick up some more, but to get that circular shape, I'm going to wrap it a few times around one of my small acrylic paint bottles just to get the circular shape, and then whenever I trim it off, I'm just going to take the end and kind of wrap it around to keep it all held in place, and then I'll tack that down with some hot glue. I wasn't loving the roof. I felt like it needed to be a little bit longer on each side to really kind of define the shape more of the house. Obviously you know what it is, but I just thought that it looked better with a longer roof on it. So I go ahead and just hot glue an extra block on each side and then paint that the same color. Like I mentioned before, I am working on two different versions of this house, so that's why you see me kind of go back and do the same thing over again. For the second house, I was going to add this little wooden heart. I picked these up forever ago at Target, but you definitely can find little wooden hearts anywhere. And then I'm just trying to be brave here and freehanding the word home on here. You all know how much I get nervous whenever I am freehanding. I just feel like you can ruin a project so easy, and I don't love my handwriting all throughout my own home. But this actually turned out really cute. That's why I like to start with pencil, because you can erase all of your mistakes and correct them before you really just commit with your black paint marker. Whenever I am writing words on projects, I do find it really beneficial if you start with the letters that are in the middle of your word, just to make sure it gets spaced out evenly and you don't run out of space to write your words. So like I liked putting the E and the S first in nest, that way I knew where to start and stop my letters. While I am making these projects, make sure you write down in the comments any ideas or anything that you're inspired by, so that everyone else can read too. I love, after I make a project, going through the comments and seeing all of your awesome ideas. I made a flip-flop sign in my last video, and I was trying to create the sand look, and I just wasn't loving it. And then after I had posted it, someone commented that I could have actually glued on real sand, and I thought that was an awesome idea. So I definitely love looking through the comments to find more inspiration. But these are how simple these cute little houses turned out. I love them, and it's so inexpensive to make a decor piece for only a couple bucks. For this next project, I am shopping the Crafters Square aisle. I use this wooden home sign, or these little letter words. I tried to take it off of the little base and couldn't get it, so I kind of just am winging this DIY project. I was going to glue the home down in the front, but after I couldn't get the stand off, I thought that I would just glue the stand on the frame and see how it turned out. I tried the little stand and I felt like that really wasn't going to hold it up, but then after I glue it to the home sign, it freestands by itself, so I was happy to discover that. But just to get a blank slate and see what I'm working with, I go ahead and turn that little kitten photo around and make me a white background, and then I cover this home sign with some silver spray paint. I just take that outside and hold it in my hand. I felt like was the easiest way, and I hold it with a bag because I feel like I can never get spray paint off of my hands. And then to make this look more galvanized and a little bit more rustic, I'm using some of the elephant color, which is a dark gray, and I kind of just dab it over the silver to give it more of that darker galvanized look. Even though I decorate in neutrals, I love mixing different tones of colors. So like with the cool home sign, I love putting it on more of like a warmer sign color. It's the same way whenever you are like painting your house. If your floors are a warmer color, you want to go with cooler walls, or vice versa. If you paint your walls tan, whenever you're building a house, you kind of want to put down cooler floors. I don't know, that's just what I've always heard anyways. So they just look really nice together. So using some of my mineral color, I'm going to go over the frame that I painted the truffle brown color and make it look a little bit more distressed. I love going to Hobby Lobby and stocking up on craft paper. I know Hobby Lobby has been closed down for me until like the last week, and I actually got to go in there and get new scrapbooking paper. Even though this is an older DIY, I still got to stock up on tons of new scrapbooking papers that I'm super excited to use in new projects. So I wanted this to be the background, this gorgeous little script on like an antique color. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that out. I traced it with my frame and put that in the background, and then I'll be able to apply my eucalyptus leaves on there. I picked up these rub-on transfers from the Crafters Square at Dollar Tree, and it has this gorgeous eucalyptus wreath, and then it has all of these little stems that are just beautiful. I wish the Dollar Tree would put this out in a larger size because I could use this on a billion things. So I love that little wreath. I'm going to go ahead and get that out, and I really just wanted to frame this wreath because it is so beautiful on its own. So I put it down on my little script paper, and then all you have to do is rub it with a piece of plastic, or sometimes I use a popsicle stick, and then peel it up very slowly so you can see what pieces need rubbed more and transferred more. And then I hot glued my little home at the bottom, which like I said makes it stand up by itself, and then glued a dainty little bow at the top of that wreath, which I thought made it look so cute and detailed. And I just love how this turned out. Even though it's super simple, it is just a really fun detailed piece that was really fun to create. For this DIY, I used Valentine decor signs, and I love these signs because they actually had the real grooves in there, and I love taking off those little metal hearts because I save them and use them on a ton of other projects. But if you don't have that, you can still make this sign just piecing together some of Dollar Tree's larger wooden pieces. They have out some large rectangle like tropical signs right now, but I'm putting these two love signs together, and then I wish so bad my Dollar Tree would come back out with these, but I am using these love, well, they actually were a whole sign put together, and I pulled them apart and pulled the staples out of them. But I wish so bad that my Dollar Tree would get more of these because these were so fun to craft with, but I just went through them so fast I was only able to get a couple. So I took those little letters apart, and then the next thing I needed to do was put my sign together. So I love using these jumbo popsicle sticks. I picked these up from Walmart, and just adding a ton of them to the back of these signs to make it really sturdy and piece them together. Whenever I am creating these detailed signs, I just love to go ahead and get a base coat on there just to kind of see with the size and texture that I'm working with. So some of this dark truffle color, I am just putting it on there. I sanded down the glue underneath the hearts, as you can see, just to make sure everything was nice and smooth, but I am loving those real grooves in this sign. I love to distress signs. Obviously that's nothing new. If you've been with me any at all, you know that I distress everything. But this is a technique that I don't use very often, but I think it is so pretty whenever I just use baby wipes, which you could use a damp cloth, but I love to just apply paint on there and then using the wet cloth or baby wipe, just kind of blend it in and give everything more of a softer feel. I think it is just beautiful and looks like realistic, like real weathered wood. And then for these love signs, I was going to use the O. It was the one that was kind of beat up the worst, so then I had this cool idea to go ahead and just take the O out, and I'm going to make a wreath to stand in for the O in this sign. But I go ahead and paint the E white, and then the L and the V are already white, but they don't match. I do go ahead and go over those as well. I wanted to add some little photo frames that I could put some little family photos at the bottom or pictures of my girls. So I wanted them to coordinate with the letters but be a little bit different. So I'm going to go ahead and paint them white. These two frames were the exact same like style. They had the same texture in there, but they were different colors. One was lighter than the other. So I did go ahead and paint them white and did distress them with a little bit of a gray color paint. And I originally thought that I was going to stick photos in those photo frames, but then whenever I was creating this project, I thought it would be so fun to make them easily interchangeable instead of just gluing the frame down. So I do add some little clips to those. And then to get the little circle greenery, you could definitely use that garland that I used in the first DIY in this video, but I had these little greenery picks that I pick up from Walmart, and they're less than $1. They're like 97 or 98 cents, and I just pulled the little greenery pieces off of there and then hot glued them in a circle. And then I did stack them up to make the little wreath look really full. I know that a lot of us are coming out of quarantine and our stores are opening back up. You'll have to let me know in the comments down below. This quarantine, I feel like I got really excited at first. I was going to have more time at home and get really inspired and craft a lot. And then by the end, I really got uninspired and just kind of wanted to work on my own home projects and not having to film them, but actually like work really hard and get stuff done. So let me know in the comments down below. Did the quarantine, like, were you inspired and actually like got crafts done or home projects, or if you just kind of got stumped and just got lost in the day-to-day having to just kind of survive. So let me know down in the comments down below. So the next thing I do is put in some of that really pretty gray and white buffalo check scrapbooking paper in these frames because I wanted a nice backing because I'm going to add smaller photos. And then for the little clips, I'm using these little alligator clips that came on the back of these little succulents. And then this is kind of how I'm going to clip my photos on there, something that's smaller, but I just found that little boat picture in one of those frames. I decided to go with black and white photos in mine just to give it more of a chic look, but you definitely can add little colored photos. But I think put together, this sign is just beautiful and looks like something that you would purchase from a store. For my next project, I'm using 4 of these little wooden drawers from Dollar Tree. This is something that I wish I had more of, so I want to get out to Dollar Tree and start shopping around to find more of them. But I actually took the center out and put them to the side so I can reuse these on something else, but I'm mostly just going for that larger little block, and I'm going to turn the whole to the back so that they actually look like little wooden blocks. And I wanted to stain them instead of paint them. I thought, one, it would be a lot easier and get a lot more coverage without having to wait for it to dry. It seems like whenever you water down paint, you can just kind of lay it whichever direction and it doesn't mess up the paint as if you applied thick paint on there. And I mixed some of my truffle chalk paint with some water, which is how I created this stain, but you definitely could use real stain if you wanted to. This is just a lot less stinky. And then I go ahead and distress these. I worked really hard on these, and I thought that I was going to leave them this color, and they are really pretty, but then I decided that I was going to add stickers on there and paint over them, so you don't see as much as the brown as I intended, but it still does poke through. I picked up this little flower from Dollar Tree, and I just easily pried the flower. It kind of has different layers, so I just pried the top layer off of there, and I thought it was beautiful to make that the O. And this is more for like spring or summer. You definitely could use it all year. You could even put Velcro on the back of that little flower so that you could Velcro other little things like a Christmas tree or a pumpkin there. That would be so adorable. But I love using these poster stickers, and I just place them down on the wood, and then I'm going to paint over them with my white chalk paint. And then whenever I remove them, you'll be able to see that beautiful brown H, and it doesn't look, and it actually looks like it was made to kind of be that way, if that makes sense. So I go ahead and apply a lot of white to the front so that H is going to show up, and then just kind of feather some of the white paint around the edges. I wanted this flower to kind of be opposite than the home block so it really pops off, so I started by painting it white. And without dipping my paintbrush, I just put the remainder on that little block. So it kind of coordinates, but it still pops out being a brown block. And then I felt like the middle of the flower just kind of got washed out. So I did go around the edges with some more brown paint just to give it a little bit more dimension. These were so simple to put together and turned out so adorable. I think it would be gorgeous to write your last name on here, but definitely a beautiful piece just to make for a few dollars. One of my favorite Dollar Tree items are the wooden signs. They always come out with a ton of different wooden signs, and my favorite thing to do is to turn these around backwards and make them look like framed wall art. So this is such an easy way to get a nice base for any kind of wall piece. You can tell this is before I had my heat gun. I definitely recommend picking up a heat gun. I'll link mine down below, but I love it. I was actually inspired by this piece from a Hobby Lobby piece. I saw this with the little painted tulips and the little beads on there. I thought it was gorgeous, so that's what I'm kind of recreating for this DIY. The first thing I wanted to do is make it look like it had a frame around it, so using some brown chalk paint, I'm going to mostly just focus on painting around the edges.
Hello, how'd you do? I'm not broken, I'm just split in two. Hope you're fine, ain't got time to do everything.
I feel like I always have to go the extra mile. Obviously it would have looked perfect just leaving it solid brown, but I love that extra little detail in everything, so I'm kind of brushing on some mineral color just to make it look a little bit more weathered. After making it look like it's kind of framed, and that's a wood frame around it with the brown, very carefully I'm trying to make this have a white base so that I can paint on it. And you could use painter's tape if you wanted to, but I'm just trying to make sure that I get it as close as possible to not get it on the edges. So then I picked up these wooden beads from Crafter's Square. I would recommend finding actual wooden beads and purchasing those over these, just because some of these, the holes were too small to fit like anything in, so I really had to pick them out. I don't know if they were just like made wrong or if they were supposed to be like that, but I ended up picking out the largest ones and just kind of stringing them on a piece of jute twine, and then I was able to spray paint them.
Pictures of sunny days with your smile and the
I love using the Rust-Oleum 2X Ultra Color. This is in matte white, and I just spread them out on the jute string or jute twine so that the paint would try to get in between the edges. And they draped theirs on the edge, which I thought was really pretty. So that's what I'm going to do, just kind of hot glue it in place. And then I actually had some Valentine's words left over, so I'm going to use the love. They actually had love and then they had words underneath it. I'm just going to skip that part, but I loved adding that big cursive love word. And if you don't have these, you can just print off the word love and trace it on there, or print this out or cut it out with your Cricut or Silhouette. And then I'm just freehanding these little tulips on there. They looked pretty easy, just like they were stems with these little flower heads on there, and they weren't perfect by any means, which I think is why I loved it so much, is that it did look hand painted.
How could they say I was broken? How could they say you made me come undone? Now I know that it's okay. Unlike my friends, you are nothing like them. How could they say I was broken?
I feel like no matter how many times after I'm done painting, I run to the sink and I wash out my brushes, I feel like there's always a couple that kind of roll away or just dry with paint on them. So I do craft a lot because this has turned into like an actual like crafting job slash crafting show. I'm not sure what you call it, but I probably make more crafts than the average person on a daily basis or weekly basis, but I do lose a couple of paintbrushes or a few of them every week, and that would be not very many for me. So you have to let me know in the comments down below, how often do you have to throw away a paintbrush, or do you take super good care of them? I definitely try, but life is just super busy, and sometimes they get the best of me. And then my girls who love crafting, they are always taking my stuff and they leave their paintbrushes to dry out. So they're still super young, so definitely something that I need to try to teach them more about. But I hot glued down my little love word. I actually dabbed it with a little bit of elephant color to make it pop off of that, and added little bows on each side of the beads, but I think it is so detailed and beautiful, and I just love how it turned out. Moving on to the next DIY, I'm just using a rectangular Dollar Tree sign. I already got it flipped over and painting it white. I hate that it is so washed out in this video. I've definitely been trying to change that and make sure that I put it on brown craft paper or something so it does pop off of the background so you can see it more. But bear with me, you'll be able to see it in just a second. But I just painted this sign white, and then using a ruler, I'm taking my Sharpie paint marker and going to give it some shiplap lines so that it does look like shiplap in the background. But I am going to make this look more of like a white weathered wood. So after I get my lines all on there, I do kind of distress it with the elephant color. I love just going crazy and adding tons of paint on there and then lightening it up with a piece of sandpaper. If you don't want to do that much sanding, because it is kind of hard on your hands and elbows to hand sand for long periods of time, you definitely can just apply a lighter color paint or just less of it. And then I was actually kind of doing like a challenge myself to do DIYs with a calendar, so that's kind of why I'm using this, but you definitely don't need it. I just used this jar as a stencil. It was a Dollar Tree calendar, but you definitely could just hand draw your own jar or print one off online just to get that shape. I decided this jar was too large, so I did kind of fold it up and make it smaller so that I would be able to put some flowers coming out the top. I am using more of a turquoise color here because I just think turquoise jars look beautiful in kitchens, and that's kind of where I wanted this at. I'm going to go ahead and just paint the entire jar and then barely touch it with some sandpaper to make it kind of blend with the distressing of everything else. Using a variety of floral stems from Dollar Tree. I love all of these little flowers, and I love that they kind of are not the same exact color, but they coordinate really nicely in these little leaves. But if I could do this again, I wish I wouldn't have went with so much of a yellow tone flower and maybe more of white, but I also knew it would get washed out in the background. So I'm not sure what color. You'll have to let me know in the comments what color flower do you think would have looked best in this jar. But I am using this Dollar Tree lace. I am missing this Dollar Tree lace. I still have some, but I feel like my Dollar Tree hasn't had it in forever, so I don't know if it's something they're not putting out anymore. And then I wanted to write the word blessed, and I just saw it on another page, so I'm cutting it out to use this as a little pattern or template. I actually tried to scribble on the back and transfer it that way, but the calendar paper was so slick and shiny that it wouldn't transfer, so I did have to put a piece of paper in between the word and the little jar. So then I just traced it on there and went over it with my black Sharpie paint marker. And then I added back in my little jute string hanger. I also love hanging up these signs with nautical rope. I feel like it makes it more of an impact and really beautiful, but I think this jar turned out gorgeous. You definitely could switch up the jar color and the flower colors to make it match more of your kitchen or where you're gonna hang this. And moving on to the next DIY, I wanted to make a lighted wall sign, so I'm just going to jump right in and paint once again the back of one of these Dollar Tree signs. And I covered this with a light gray color, but then I'm going to distress it with some of my darker elephant color. And I'm also going to do some popsicle sticks that way so that I can add them to the top and the bottom. I tried to find the smallest little Dollar Tree sign that I could so that it wouldn't stick out really far from the sign, but I'm going to be gluing this flat to kind of be like a little holder or a little shelf to hold my little candle on there. But I want this to be the exact same color as the back of my sign, so I'm using the same mineral color on the base and then distressing that with the elephant color. Whenever you see pallet signs put together, they're always, the boards are going the same direction, and then they usually have a board at the top and the bottom that's going the opposite direction to look like it's holding them together. So that's kind of what I was going for here. I wanted these little decorative pieces to go at the top and the bottom, and I scoot them to the top and the bottom, and I think it just really adds extra texture and makes it more look like a framed in sign. And then I hot glue down my little shelf where I think it needs to go, and I go ahead and add my hanger back on there, and then I'll be able to decorate the little shelf. I am going to be adding greenery on my little shelf, so I wanted a base that I could hot glue to besides inside that little sign, because I felt like the greenery would get lost down in there. So I hot glued a piece of foam that I cut perfect to size that would fit down in there. And then I'm using these LED emergency candles from Dollar Tree. The base actually pops off. I know I've used these before, and I get a lot of questions about how you would change the battery if you glue it down, but the base actually disconnects from the candle, so you're able to pull it out and add your new batteries in and then put it back down. So I hot glued that to my styrofoam and then just pulled off some more little greenery pieces from a floral stem and hot glued them around so that it does look really full and you can't see the styrofoam. I have these leftover little burlap bows that came on the Dollar Tree sign. So I'm going to pop that on the little shelf to give it a little extra bit of decor. And then these metal signs are always out for 4th of July, and I'm going to go ahead and paint this white. I do distress it with a little bit of gray chalk paint just to make sure all the texture on the star really pops off. And I think this is a perfect DIY to use all year, but perfect for this time of year with all of our patriotic DIYs and celebrating the 4th of July. And this is how it looks all put together. If you didn't like how patriotic the star looked, you could definitely trade it out with a little house shape or a little heart, but I think it is gorgeous and a perfect piece to make and display in your home. This sign is another one of my favorites, and I love this carrot sign from Dollar Tree. These come out around Easter time, and I took the little metal pieces off of the top and the bottom, and I'm going to save them and use them later on in this DIY. If you are needing help removing your labels, I definitely recommend applying heat. I used to just use my hairdryer, that's all I had, but now I have a heat gun, which I absolutely love using. I wanted to make a party of 5 sign. I think these are so adorable and just really cute to have in your home. So we are a family of 5, so that's what I'm adding on mine, but you definitely can customize this to fit your family, or if you want to make this for anyone else. I'm using Dollar Tree poster stickers, and I'm just applying them up and down on the side. And I do have to cut down my white a little bit because I felt like it was taller than all of the other letters, and I love the natural color of the Dollar Tree signs on the back, so I'm going to leave that, but go ahead and paint over my letters with this white color, and then whenever I peel all of my stickers off, you can see that that is left, that natural color. I do go over it a tiny bit with the white just to make sure that it kind of blends in with the sign, but I think that is gorgeous, and I really do need to use that technique more often because it is really fun and easy to do. And then I printed out a large 5 because I didn't trust myself just to freehand a large 5, but that would have been easy to do. And then I go ahead and just paint this black. Just using the paint that I had left over on my brush, I'm kind of rubbing some of that black around the edges to make it all coordinate and look like it was meant to be there, so that 5 just doesn't look out of place. So just kind of brushing it along my sign. And then after I got it how I liked it, I cut down these little metal strips because I didn't want to cover up the party word, but I wanted to add that extra detail in there. So I'm cutting that down so that it does go above and below the 5, which I thought was a really cool extra detail to add to this sign because it was free. It pretty much came on the sign, so it was just hot gluing it. But I love trying to use everything that I get and try to be resourceful and not waste. But I think this is adorable and such a cute little sign to add into a family room. And then next up, I'm using this wooden circle. This actually came from Target Dollar Spot a couple years ago, but Dollar Tree has out their little cardboard or MDF signs, and they actually have circles right now, which I'm super excited about. So you definitely could use one of those, and it would be a lot cheaper. So if you want to make something like this, you could just Mod Podge on fake wood like scrapbooking paper on the back. You could paint it yourself to look like fake wood on the back, or just stain the sign to kind of get the same effect. But I am using this wooden circle, and I went ahead and painted using the elephant color chalk paint, just a wiggly little line around the edges to be my wreath. And then I'm just freehanding some little cotton balls or little cotton pods to kind of see which one that I like the best. And after I cut out one that I really liked, I'm going to trace that all around this circle to make it look like a little cotton wreath. The most important thing to remember here is just to make sure that your cotton is going the same direction so that it does all branch towards the same direction. It just makes it look a lot nicer and neater and kind of goes with the flow and just looks better to the eye. So then after I got all of my little white puffy cloud looking cotton balls, I'm going to take a really small brush and kind of add that little piece that's at the bottom that holds and grows the cotton, and then make that branch off of the little circle that I made in the first place. So I love these little cotton stems. I think they are realistic looking, and I just liked how they turned out. This was definitely one of my favorite things that I've made on my channel. I just think it was really fun to do, and it just turned out really pretty. So then I just went online and found a free printable. I typed in Home Sweet Home on Google and just kind of printed off the first thing that I saw. But I am tracing this on there, and then I will fill this in with my black paint marker. I love mixing fonts. I think the print with the cursive just looks really nice, and definitely something that I try to incorporate into a lot of my projects. To make the perfect bow, I always loop over my ribbon, and to make a double bow, I just repeat the same thing, and then I just scrunch the center up and tie this with a piece of jute string. I know I've showed this on my channel a billion times, but I just love, and still to this day, make a bow that way. I think this sign turned out beautiful. I don't know why I don't paint more cotton on more of my DIY projects. I just love it so much. And the next DIY is another personalized sign that I turned around from Dollar Tree, but just personalize it for your family. This would also make a really awesome wedding gift or a gift for someone who you think would like DIY homemade gifts. Let me know in the comments down below, do you give a lot of homemade gifts? My family loves it, so we kind of make each other a lot of things, but I know that's not for everyone, but just let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to know. So I start by painting the same thing as I did before, the border in a dark truffle chalk paint, and then go over this with some silver lining to give it a little bit of texture. As much as I love painting, I also love quote cheating, not really cheating, but getting more of that faux shiplap wood withoap having to use real wood or having to paint it and use my ruler to make the lines. So I love this Hobby Lobby scrapbooking paper. It already looks like shiplap or weathered wood, and all I have to do is Mod Podge down this paper and it looks beautiful. I do add a lot of Mod Podge underneath the paper, and then I go ahead and add some on top. I wish I could find this roller again. I'll have to purchase me another one if they're still for sale, but I used to love that to get all the bubbles out. That was something that Plaid had sent to me, but I would love to try to find that and get more use out of it. So the next thing I'm going to be doing to make this more personal is to put my established date on there. I just think this is really fun. Usually a lot of family signs have like your last name and then established by the year, but I just wanted to make a cute little house at the top of this and then put the established year at the bottom. I'm just kind of freehanding this. I wanted to make a little house shape, so I tried to freehand cut it out, and then I'm cutting or folding this in half and cutting it to make sure that it's kind of symmetrical. I'm just placing it down and drawing around it, trying to use it as a pattern so that I can know, or that I will know where to paint. And then I always love painting with black because it always feels like it fills in so easy and only takes a coat or two. And then I'm going to paint the year. We were actually, me and my husband were married in the year 2010, so we've been married for 10 years in July, which is crazy to me. I know I get a ton of comments all the time saying that I look too young to have kids or be married, but I'll be 29 this year, so I got married really young. But on this sign I hot glued down all of my letters, but that is crazy. Married for 10 years, and I just love having that date in there because it's just special to us. And then I traced that little heart and filled it in with white paint, but this was super simple, and like I say, would make a really awesome gift for friends or family. But that is all that I have for you today. I have so much fun putting these videos together and compacting all of this inspiration and craftiness in one video. It is so fun for me to go back through all of these videos and kind of see how my crafting style has changed and how I film it and just all the things. But really fun for me, so I hope you enjoyed it. Please hit that subscribe button. Give me a big thumbs up if you enjoy crafting, and I'll see you next time. Happy crafting. Bye.